Hey there, CNCers. We are here with one of our beta testers, Vincent. He's going to tell us all about his journey.
Hi Scott, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. So my name's Vince. I'm from Miter5 Trim Carpentry, and this is my story. This is my little shop. As you can see, it's not that big. It's a one-man operation in here. Yeah, so I'm so happy to have you here. I'm kind of honored, actually.
Honored?
Yeah.
We're honored to be here. So Vince, do you mind telling us a little bit about what Miter5 does, who your clients are, what your background is, what tools you use to get the job done, just a little bit about you and where you came from?
Sure, absolutely. So Miter5 started off as just basically a trim carpentry company.
Okay.
That's our principal business.
Very good.
I've been a carpenter for many, many eons.
Eons.
And trim carpentry was my passion. It still is.
Very cool.
It still is. But I found a niche because we work with big developers that just build custom homes.
Okay, okay.
Big mansions. So that's our forte.
Perfect.
And the niche was built-ins, cabinets,
Okay.
closet organizers, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And I started actually with this workbench, to be honest with you.
This has been around for eons too,
This
then?
workbench that I started, I built this workbench in my garage, and you can see the MFT style track and so on and so forth to start building cabinets for our clients.
Okay.
And that's how we started. And it grew and grew and grew. So now I wanted to be a little bit more, what's the proper word that I'm looking for? A little bit more professional in the sense of where the space that I'm working at.
Fair. Yep.
Instead of working out of just a normal garage and working with basic tools, I want it to be more productive.
Interesting. Yep.
So I came into this space, and it was either investing into a CNC or other tools like a panel saw, for example, right? And my workflow, I thought the best route for my style of processing sheet goods, if you will, was a CNC.
Okay. Up until that point, what were you using? We talking just basic table saw?
Basic table saw, like you could see a job site table saw. Job site table saw, my track saw.
That's indispensable,
My track saw, a Festool domino for our joinery. And away we went.
You're doing this, things are going well. When does the CNC side of things come into things?
So the CNC side comes in is when I visited a good friend of mine that I was outsourcing our doors to.
Okay.
And he's a CNC guy.
Gotcha.
And what I saw, what he could produce and how fast and how quick.
And repeatable.
And repeatable.
That's
and he
huge
made
for
it
you.
extremely easy. Like we were cutting, I remember one day, I think we cut like 62 doors in one day. Cabinet doors. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Game changer.
And then I figured out my cost. And I'm like, you know what? I should be able to be more competitive in the marketplace if I was in-house. Then I saw the 4x4. I started doing some research.
Fair enough,
Right? And I'm like, well, you know what? I've never been in a CNC. I had no idea how to create a CAD file or a CAM. I had no idea what they even meant and what they were.
Okay, that's an important note for people to understand.
And then I saw your video. I'm being completely honest here. When you went through the video of the 4 different types of CAD
That was one of the first videos I did back in the day.
I saw that video and I felt even more comfortable and more confident. And I'm like, you know what? I can do this.
Perfect.
So then I started researching which machine.
That's the next rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's the big rabbit hole, right? So which machine are we going to go with? I wasn't in the market to be spending $50,000, $60,000 on an industrial machine at the time. So I found the 4x4 and I said, well, what better opportunity at a cost-effective price that I can learn and see if this will help our production.
Absolutely.
And offset the fact that we have to outsource our doors.
Right. One job probably paid for the machine.
One job did pay for the machine. It did.
Right? So it's in that regard, it's an investment in the business, and you knew that going in.
Going in, correct.
Yeah.
So I was so comfortable with that. And I came to understand that the 4x4, the actual size, the bed size was just too small for our needs.
Well, and I'm glad to hear you say that because it comes up fairly regularly. What's the right size machine for me? And from a company standpoint, that's been the evolution: bigger, stronger, faster. And when the 4x8 came out, that was kind of where we were gearing things towards: sheet goods.
Sheet goods, production,
right?
More industrial grade, if you will.
And that's where a 4x4 is a great machine, but cutting sheets in half for you guys would be almost a pain in the butt.
It was, yeah.
Versus I can just slap the whole sheet on there, go to town, and I don't have to worry anymore.
I remember when I realized that the 4x4 wasn't going to be the right setup for me.
Fair.
So I kept messaging CNC Labs in every video they did. I think I made not messaging, but commenting in videos. Yeah. And I think, when are you guys gonna develop a 4x8? A 4x8. Ideally, I wanted a 5x10.
5x10, yeah.
But I wasn't gonna push the envelope.
It's hard to please everybody all the time.
Yeah, you can't please everybody, but at least with a 4x8, you can actually stack a full sheet.
Well, I was going to say, especially because we oversize them. The 4x8's not actually the size. You get a little bit extra on there.
You get a little bit of extra.
You can chuck a full sheet on there without thinking twice, basically.
Correct. And that's when they announced the 4x8, I'm like, oh, stop.
I need in on this.
Yeah, I want in on this. And yeah, when do I sign up and where do I sign up and how do I get my hands on one ASAP?
From the 4x4 to the 4x8, this is a game changer for you from a business standpoint.
It's night and day. I no longer have to outsource anything.
Right.
Everything is done in-house.
So you're doing all your own doors?
Yeah, all our own.
Are you using it for anything else or just door front?
So doors, cabinet doors,
yep.
Cabinet parts.
Okay.
Like there's a cabinet right there.
There we go.
We just built. That's going to be a floating vanity that's going in one of these bathrooms.
Okay, cool.
So all the parts were cut on this machine. Kitchens will be cut on this machine. You name it, we cut it.
So let's talk about those two things a little bit. We already chatted about them off camera. Let's chat about them on camera because the ATC and the vacuum table for a business like this
is essential.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I'd like to hear your take on this. I know what my opinion is, but I'd like to hear your take.
So it's essential. Like there are intricate door styles that I came up with.
Yep.
It's not just a shaker door.
Yep.
I have over 25 different door styles
yep.
over there, which means a lot of bit changes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
So to really automate it or automate it better,
there you go.
The ATC really is required. It's essential. It is essential. I don't have an ATC
yet,
but I've seen Mike's and how well it works and how well it performs. And it's just logical. Let's be honest.
It is.
You don't need to have one to understand that an ATC is essential for our type of business.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the vacuum table quickly because we're developing one currently.
Yep.
But I would like to get your take on that. Again, I have my opinion. I want to hear yours.
Yeah. The vacuum table, when dealing with sheet goods like we do, in my opinion, it might be just as essential as an ATC.
Explain why.
Just drop and go.
Right?
Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
Drop it and go, baby.
But for anybody who doesn't understand why, we talked about it earlier, because you and I understand it, but somebody watching this may not fully understand why the vacuum table is almost as essential as a bit change. Why?
Hold down. So a 4x8 sheet is heavy, especially a sheet of HDF.
Yeah.
So this is HDF. Oh, geez.
It's screwed down.
It's screwed down. But it's HDF, but it has a piece of melamine on the back.
Oh, okay.
Right? The melamine is there so that it prevents the high definition fiberboard from warping.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
It does, yep.
Okay. So, or even plywood, like you can see the back there, like that's pre-finished ply.
Yep.
The point that I'm trying to make is that it's just so much easier to keep the material flat.
What about these guys?
The tabs.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing, right? You don't have to cut out a tab.
So for you as a guy who's making doors, who's making drawer fronts and that kind of stuff, if you have tabs on your projects,
it's an added step.
It's an added step.
Yes.
It's more time sanding. If you have a vacuum table, you're able to just drop it on there. Tabs are no longer required.
No more sanding on the sides.
So
no more routering out the tabs.
Right. So from a standpoint of efficiency, ATC and vacuum table for this purpose are pretty essential.
I think those are the only two essential accessories that a CNC needs.
So your experience so far, the machine itself has functioned how it's supposed to?
Absolutely.
Has done what you wanted?
It's a workhorse. The AltMill's been a workhorse.
That's what we'd like to hear.
It's a workhorse. Like I haven't had any issues with it at all.
Have you had any suggestions for the engineers on things that could be improved? You're running a beta machine, so that's half the fun of this process for you, is you know that there's going to be some changes from this to the final production models.
I think the pinions could be a little bit bigger.
Okay.
I'm no engineer. My second gripe is the spindle. I'd like to see a bigger, more powerful spindle.
Okay.
I'm running the 2.2 kilowatt spindle right now. I haven't had any issues with the spindle.
But if you could run it faster for you from a production environment, something that can I mean, the 2.2 is not bad, but it can bog down if you're pushing it too hard. Let's talk about that though, because do you know basically a ballpark of what your feeds and your speeds are with the 2.2 and
Yeah, so we're carving out, I think I was asking you off camera,
yep.
A shaker door, doing a big pocket.
Yep.
Using a 1 1/4 inch surfacing bit.
Okay.
We're running it, I think, at around, Daniel suggested we run it around 22,000 RPM, 22 to 24,000 RPM.
Yeah. Do you know what speed you're running it at? Like the actual
380.
Oh, that's flying then. That's moving.
Minute.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
For a big surfacing bit, that's not bad.
Yeah, with a 2-inch ramp. I think maybe I can do better with my ramp. Maybe.
That's not going to be a huge effect. That's just going to make sure you don't beat on your bit as much. Okay, so as far as actually cutting parts out, what are you typically using?
1/4 inch bit, down cut bit.
1/4 down cuts.
Down cut.
What feeds are you typically moving at, or what speeds?
Cutting out the parts. We're cutting out at around 350 inches a minute.
At what depth? Do you know?
I'm going down 3/16 of an inch per pass.
With a 1/4 inch?
Yeah, I should probably be at a 1/4 inch.
You could absolutely, but I mean, because you're trying to push the speed, you're balancing, not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking, call it a 1/4 inch at 350.
Yeah.
It would handle no problem.
Oh yeah, it handles no problem. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. If you really want to get in depth why this is a superior product, and this is where I think you guys should be talking about to sell these things to a cabinet shop or a cabinet shop that wants to start.
Yep.
Why this is a superior product over a panel saw.
Okay. Tell me, I want to hear this.
A panel saw requires a 20-foot, 30-foot span of floor space.
Yep.
And it can't do half the stuff a CNC can.
Right, it can do linear cuts.
And how much does a panel saw cost?
A lot.
25 grand.
Right.
And if you want a Swiss vertical panel saw,
add another
40 grand.
Right.
Well, it's $40,000.
So you can buy 4 of these.
You can buy 4 of these. Well, these models. You can't buy an industrial CNC, but
you could buy 4 of these versus 1 industrial too.
Right. And it doesn't do your dados. If you're starting out and you want to be a cabinet maker and you've got some money to spend to start and you have to pick between a CNC machine and a panel saw, a CNC machine is the way to go. All the way. Learning new software for me is the equivalent to walking in thick mud. That's the best way of describing
Fair.
it.
Okay, so tell me about that then.
I was very fortunate that I had a friend and he uses Vectric.
Okay.
Now that wasn't my deciding factor.
Okay.
My deciding factor was the amount of tutorials out there. The library is
the
so
resources
deep.
that you had available.
Correct.
Okay.
The library is so deep, the resources. And then watching your video, comparing those 4 between Carveco and I think it was Easel and there was one other one, Carbide.
Yep.
Right.
So what do you have for advice for people? Because that is, I see all sides of this journey for people. Software. The machine is intimidating, but the software is the one who typically trips people up the most.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know software, I'm terrified. So if
see,
somebody's starting out.
So CNCing is not done here. It's done at your desk.
Fair enough.
And don't be afraid.
So don't be
afraid. Don't be afraid.
Get in there and experiment.
Yeah, download the free trial, watch the resources.
Okay.
You need to educate yourself. You need to take accountability.
Yep.
Get your like I said, learning new software for me at my age is like walking in thick mud. But I did it.
Exactly.
If I did it, anybody could do it.
And that's what I want people to understand is, and I've said that in a few videos now, that you get out of it what you put into it. So it's not always going to be easy necessarily, but if you can persevere, you can get there.
Absolutely.
That's the cool part about it. So that's something I try to get across in the tutorials is do what works for you.
Yeah.
Just because my brain thinks like this doesn't mean yours does.
Yeah.
But if it inspires you to try something,
Yeah.
that's the important part.